Morning to the audience, and thank you for being with us today. And thank you, Veritas, for inviting me to the forum. Well, my topic today is about transforming cities with transit. I'm going to take you through some of the things that we are currently doing. First, let me start by talking about MRT Corp. We are, other than building construction projects, okay, we are also the master planner of transit networks. So in the past, we have planned for MRT1 as well as MRT2, and currently we're in the middle of planning of MRT3. In doing that planning, we need to be mindful that we need to facilitate the movement of people. We have to make sure that the transit networks ease the mobility of people throughout the city. So in the past, we have focused more on the transit, on the radial lines, which brings people from the outskirts to the city center. So now, as you can see, we have pretty much a complete metro rail network in KL. And we are left to do one more thing, which is the MRT3 Circle Line. And with the MRT3 Circle Line, it completes the early design of the land public transport system in KL. Okay, this is what you do. As you know, this is what it is now, right now in KL. You can see all the radial lines coming, and all the radial lines actually converges in the city center, right? So if you were to go from the west part of KL and to the east part of KL, you probably need to go through the city center. And so as we build the MRT3, we are also looking at it as economic programs, not only as a pure construction programs, but also as economic programs. So we hope that we are aiming for the higher multiplier this time around. And I can go through with you some of the main important themes of the economic programs. First and foremost is actually the construction. We're looking at a way to do modular construction instead of a very traditional conventional construction, where we are going to emphasize more of the use of IBS and IR 4.0 in the construction industry. So this time around, we're looking at ways and how can we catalyze the local construction players to come up with the new IPs and new technologies and new way of doing things so that they can actually survive beyond the construction of MRT3. The next one, we are also looking at the network mobility, how to enhance the network mobility. We're looking at, again, how to reconfigure the first mile and last mile. We are also going to create few new transport hubs and also enhance the interconnectivity among the lines. For example, in MRT3, as you know, that we are building a circle line, and in that circle line, we have about 10 interchange stations, and one of the stations will be a major super hub, which I will talk to you more after this. And along the line of the circle line, because you can be along the perimeter of the circle line, we will also need to spur the development of new areas. We're looking at ways and means to redevelop and regenerate some of the areas. And in this way, we hope to bring in new economic activities in that particular areas and also enhance the land value capture for that particular area. On top of that, we are also supplementing that urban regeneration and urban renewal with TOD and affordable homes along the perimeter of the circle line. And we are looking at to build about 11 affordable housing schemes around the area. So when we construct MRT3, we are also looking at ways and means to also address some of the social issues today. And this is where one of the ways that we can also do one thing and at the same time resolve several other issues as well at the same time. So in this way, we will hope to increase our economic multiplier from this project. And if you look at the some of the areas today, we also have areas along our Kajang line as well as our Putrajaya line. So we are looking at also to build and enhance the TOD in this area. We're looking at how to enhance it in somewhere in our MRT Damansara, Pilo Damansara area, MRT Kuchai Lama, MRT station Cochrane, Taman Connaught, as well as near Kajang, Sungai Jernih. So as you can imagine, all this area will need to go through some sort of like a regeneration with our TOD programs. And on top of that, we are also looking at building a super hub. So the super hub that we are looking at right now is actually in north part of Kuala Lumpur City, and it is in the area of Titiwangsa. So we're looking at a development of a major super hub at the area of Titiwangsa, where we have today 4 different lines converge at the same point. And on top of that, we are also going to have the super hub to be connected and linked to the city bus. This is one of the major hubs that is connected directly to the city bus. So I share with you some of the artist impression of the super hub. Okay, so it's a major development that we need to do along with the construction of MRT3 Circle Line. And you can see that, we have a bus terminal also connected to the super hub. So that's the plan that we have, how to basically transform directly Kuala Lumpur today to the new Kuala Lumpur in few years' time. And other than that, we are also re-looking at some of the configuration of the land transport system in Kuala Lumpur, whereby with the maturity of the land transport system that we have today in Kuala Lumpur, we are turning the metro rail now to become the backhaul trunk line. Yeah. So in the new Kuala Lumpur master plan, you will see that all public transport in system will actually send loads and passengers to the metro rail, and metro rail will act like a trunk line. And when we have enough trunk line to distribute the passengers throughout the whole system. And this trunk line will need to be supplemented with Grab, e-hailing, taxis, as well as buses, and as well as personal mobility transport. Yeah? So what we need to do in the future is to design the entire ecosystem such a way that, when we design the special planning for a certain particular area, we need to be mindful of the fact that we need to be able to cater to all the other transportation systems, because they are going to act like a first mile and last mile connectivity. And while metro rail is going to become the backbone and the trunk line. So in future planning of the city, we need to be mindful about the space and allocate enough space and enough corridor for all other public transport system to come together and to be integrated. And other than the physical integration, we are also looking at how to integrate this multiple public transport system through digitalization. So we will be talking about liberalization of information so that we can get other transportation system to be also be integrated with the metro rail. So these are the things that we are currently doing. We are pushing to make sure that we achieve this dream by 2030. So with that, that's all that I have to say this morning about our plan, and hopefully we can discuss further in the question and answer.
Thank you, Datuk Zarif, for the informative and hopeful presentation. The future of MRT3 to connect with the smaller suburban towns looks to truly enhance the connectivity and catchment throughout Malaysia. The rejuvenation and addressing of cities to improve the land capture value in newly connected areas will surely progress MRT Corp to greater heights. Thank you again, Datuk Zarif, for speaking with us today. Now, we'll be taking some questions for Datuk Zarif in just a moment. Please post your questions via the platform. Let me welcome Datuk Zarif back onto the screen with us. Kai, why don't you take us off on our first question?
Hi, Datuk.
Hi.
I would like to ask your vision about the new lines of MRT line, the new city or the new version of Hallback that you mentioned just now. What is the challenges that different from the previous MRT, MRT1 or previous MRT2 that currently maybe Datuk you are facing now? Will be the difference?
Imagine for a while that you have when you build a township, right? If you build township and you are going to a greenfield area, it's open space, and you have all the means and whatever that you can do to design that township. So that's what happened in our previous project, where we have enough space and to design things, all right? So imagine as the transit grows, as your township grows as well, and you happen now, MRT3 Circle Line happen to be the last, the last of the many different projects. You can imagine that being the last, MRT3 needs to pull everyone together.
Correct.
Right? Because one, you don't have enough space. Two, to make sure that the entire master plan fits in together, everything must be put together in the last project. Right? Basically, we need to integrate now. The integration of so many different lines, we need to basically do it properly now. While the importance of integration, the integration of lines were not important before, but it is actually important today because this is the last opportunity that we can do that. Secondly is, this will also be the last opportunity for us to redefine the city. Because we don't have a sizable project like this in foreseeable future. So if you want to define the city for the next 10 to 20 years, so you have to do it properly this time around. So basically, we have to plan for the land usage, for the revival of the city, the urban regeneration, what kind of clusters do we want to bring in. So in planning the circle line, it is actually very different from planning of MRT1 and MRT2. Yeah, because you have to pull everything together. And sometimes you also need to be mindful about the good and the bad or the past. And then for some reason, you have to make sure that you rectify all these things and make sure that, when you deliver the MRT3, you actually not only deliver a project, but you deliver the entire masterpiece of a blueprint. So that's his challenge.
Thank you, Dato'. I believe with that, that portrays an image that the future MRT3 will be more compact due to certain limitations, and that's lead to, at this time, probably the people have better understanding or acceptance to public transport. Hence, I guess this is where MR3 are sitting and positioned with. Do we have any other questions from the floor?
Like what I mentioned just now, Kaya, I just want to highlight to you again, one of the major features in MRT3 would be the development of a super hub, which I talked about just now over at Titiwangsa. So it's a hub. It's a very important nexus in Titiwangsa because that's part of Titiwangsa is actually on the north side of the city center. And that's the only hub that is directly connected to the city buses and all the other 4 radial lines. So I would love to, in my own lingo, that's kind of like, the Waterloo station of KL.
Correct. It will be much integrated solution for all.
Yeah, so except for Waterloo, you will have a water taxi. So Siti Wangsa, we're looking at hopefully when the river of life comes in, then we can have a water taxi there.
Correct. We'll find someone.
Hopefully.
Engage a third party to do so. It will be ideal.
I am encouraging the others to come in as well to invest.
Right. Datuk, we have questions on the floor. From Mr. Kamil Hafiz, MRT2 Phase 1 announced a delayed. For RSD by Q2 2022. Is it will impact MRT2 Phase 2 also?
Okay, let me answer that question, Kayi. My straight answer to that is, as now, is no. The reason why we are delaying the opening of MRT2 Phase 1 is because of safety reasons. Yeah. As I mentioned in the press release that MRT is a very sophisticated technology, it's an autonomous system. It runs by itself, it doesn't have a driver. So it relies on multiple systems, hundreds actually, subsystem and modules. So, and every system is backed by tertiary, primary, and even secondary layers. Yeah, and we have to be very careful that we have to make sure that all system layers, all tertiary, primary, and secondary layers are actually working and stable. And like what I mentioned, out of the many hundreds of subsystems, there are currently 2 systems that we feel that we still need to improve further. So it's a safety that we are not going to compromise here. So the reason, and not so much of the physical development. You can see the physical development is all ready. You can see the train is actually running, albeit without the passengers. The train is, as a matter of fact, runs daily today. But to put in passengers to the train, we got to be very careful. So because of the safety concern, although we have a primary layer and secondary layer, we are still not happy. We want the tertiary layer to be also stable. So it's a safety issue, it's a safety concerns why we are delaying it. Because it's not a physical issue, it's more of a system and software issue. And once we rectify the software in Phase 1, the same software also will be installed in Phase 2. So therefore, we would rather address the problem today as opposed to address the problem when the train already opens to the public.
You're right, Dato'. Totally agree with you. People come first when this for all sort of reasons. We'll take one more question on the floor. The question is from our group president, Mr. David. Datuk Zarif, many properties owners, developers are awaiting to learn the final alignment of MRT3. When will that be made public? And a big question, sir. PJ Section 5 versus PJCC. What do you think?
Okay, good 2 questions. Okay. First and foremost, let me inform you about the alignment. The alignment, we already have a working draft because we are doing now the engineering design work. So we do need a working draft in order for us to do the engineering design. So when can we share it? Actually, why don't you give me time to actually go and put in the Section 4, freeze the land first. After I freeze the land, I will inform the public. You will know. So I have to freeze the land first before I inform the public, right? So it's unfair for me to actually announce it first ahead of my Section 4, all right? So anyway, but let me assure you, in terms of corridor, I think you know the corridor already. Because there's a lot of, in April this year, I've shared to you the possible areas and corridors, and the corridor is pretty much the same. All right. The only difference is you wouldn't know the exact location of the station and also alignment, because I don't want the land speculation thing to happen. So that's why we are not telling you exactly where the spot is. However, the corridor is pretty much well known, and the corridor will also go through Titi Wangsa area. So the circle line, eventually, if you look at the circle line, it will be like almost like a heart shape. because because we need to go through Titiwangsa area, and that's why it's like a heart shape. So, right, but we still call it circle line though. It's not a perfect circle. It is not a perfect circle because we are dealing with mature areas in Kuala Lumpur. You will see that the actual alignment will have that zigzagging effect because we need to avoid so many different buildings and land. So we are not dealing with a greenfield area. So that's why the circle is not a perfect circle. But however, it is actually a closed loop, right? On the question of PJ, it's very interesting. We, as part of our alignment study, we would like to give opportunities to residents and businesses in respective communities to come back to us and say that, whether or not they want or they don't want it. Because at the end of the day, we are making this investment for the current generation as well as the future generations, okay? The future generations also is paying for that investment today, right? So obviously, when we want to do something in this kind of large scale, we need to collaborate with the communities out there. So some communities are receptive. They would love to get the benefit of this investment, and some may have a different idea, or they may want to do different in a different manner. So the engagement with the residents and with the businesses and the rest of the stakeholders are still ongoing. However, in the area of PJ, we still have multiple options. Okay, one option is obviously going through the Bukit Gasing Section 5 area. The other one actually going through the PJ Central area. Okay, let me tell you, we have looked at the options of going through PJ Central area. PJ Central today is served by LRT Putrajaya Line. So there's already an existing station. So they are not without any public transport. There is actually LRT station there today. So they are now being served by that station. So they're not deprived of the service. All right. So, but for us, you can imagine we would like the circle line to be really a circle that envelopes around Kuala Lumpur City. And imagine to take this circle and to have a barging effect in going through on the west side to the PJ area. And imagine that to barge a bit to go to the PJ area, we need to cross so many different, what we call it, townships and old houses. So one of the challenges is actually to go through Templar and to go through Jalan Selangor, in order to get to PJ Central. What happens there is, in PJ and in Jalan Templar, Jalan Selangor, they don't have the median that we need. And because we don't have that median, we have to enlarge Jalan Selangor, we have to enlarge Jalan Templar. Once we enlarge Jalan Templar and Jalan Selangor, that means we have to acquire one row of bungalow houses next to the existing roads. So the social impact is going to be very, very high. And I don't think, what if one bungalow or one fella up there disagree? So the entire alignment has to be relooked at. So it's a major risk, major social risk that we are going to face if we were to go to PJ Central. And yet PJ Central is not deprived of the service because there is already an LRT system there. So these are some of the issues that we are facing today in finalizing the alignment. So, but I have to say to you that, in our working draft, we don't have PJ Central anymore. We also don't have also Bukit Gasing. So that's it. So we are working on a different alignment today.
Thank you very much, Datuk Zarif. I wish we could have more questions for you, but due to time constraints, we will be moving on to our next talk. Thank you very much again for being with us today. We've truly enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, Kai.